This is a public service.
Good morning. Morning. I'm gonna cover up all your mics here. All right, first of all, thank you for coming to this press conference. But today, it's an important day, and I don't want anybody to forget our victims lost for 9/11. This morning, my command staff and myself, we went out to an event to honor those victims, and it's still sombering, so I don't ever want anybody to ever forget that. Once I read a short statement, I will answer some questions. As we all know, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham issued an emergency temporarily suspending open and concealed carry laws for the next 30 days in Bernalillo County. Let me start by saying I'm holding this press conference and to answer many other people's questions, not only on social media, but directly to my phone. One, this is not grandstanding, nor is this to bring attention to myself. We must always remember, not only are we protecting the Second Amendment, but at the same time, we have a lot of violence within our community. Let me be clear. I hold my standards high, and I do not, or never will, hedge on what is right. And I take my oath seriously. In reference to concealed carry and open carry, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office will not enforce this segment of the order. While I understand the urgency, the temporary ban challenges the foundations of our Constitution, but most importantly, it is unconstitutional. My oath was to protect the Constitution, and that is what I will do. The governor made it clear in her press conference. She knew we as law enforcement did not agree with the order, and as a result, this was solely her decision. Other than this ban being unconstitutional, here are other reasons why I will not enforce the order. One, what many forget, is I have enough violence here in Bernalillo County. I do not want to have political violence towards my deputies or here in Bernalillo County. My job is to keep the peace and to make sure that the citizens of Bernalillo County are safe, and I do not believe that this order will help me do so. I'm a law enforcement professional. This order will not do anything to curb gun violence other than punish law-abiding citizens from their constitutional right to self-defense. Let me give you a personal story. Last week, as I'm sitting here as the sitting sheriff, I get a phone call that my brother also was a victim of gun violence last week that many of you do not know. While he and my nephew were sitting in their car, they were shot at and their vehicle was impacted by numerous rounds. How can I, as a sheriff, tell him to put his firearms away and not be able to protect himself? I have a fact for you. Criminals do not follow the law or a public health order. Never seen it, we will never see criminals follow the law. Once again, this only punishes law-abiding citizens. What I also want to address is what we're doing on the gun violence here in Bernalillo County and helping in the state of New Mexico. It is quite irritating for me to see how this 30-day ban completely overshadowed the robust conversations that we had with the governor in the office on what we are going to do to curb gun violence and for people to stop being victims. We had arguments, but again, we had solutions. We had an 11-year-old that was senselessly killed, but there are also many other numerous victims of gun violence, not just here in Bernalillo County, but our nation. A couple of things that I will be asking to do as we get serious. I will take your questions, but let me tell you what we're going to do, because we do need to not overshadow what we need to do to keep our citizens safe. I will be asking the Crime Reduction Director for our agency, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, to lead a task force of various law enforcement agencies to focus on crimes with firearms. I will have continued meetings for early intervention of not only adult, but youth offenders. I am respectfully requesting, as an elected official, to please consider a special session to specifically address crime not just in Bernalillo County, but for the state of New Mexico. We need to look at solutions to address violent crimes involving juveniles with firearms, adults with firearms, pretrial release, harsh state penalties for violent crimes which also involve a firearm. Collaboration and planning will and continue with the Mayor of Albuquerque, Tim Keller, Chief of New Mexico State Police, Troy Weisler, Chief of the Albuquerque Police Department, Harold Medina, and District Attorney, Sam Bregman. I will also be contacting federal entities such as the FBI and the U.S. Attorney to assist us and make sure we work as a team to curb gun violence and so many other crimes that we see in Bernalillo County. At this time, I will take some questions.
Yeah, Sheriff,
Go ahead.
did the governor give you any kind of heads up about this order? And while you said you won't be enforcing it, do you even see a realistic way that it could be enforced?
The governor, to her credit, just gave us a head up minutes before the press conference. We expressed to her that we do not agree with it. That's why she did mention in the press conference that she knows we weren't on board, nor did we draft it. Is there a realistic way to enforce this order? No, there is not, because we'll cut that conversation off because it's unconstitutional. So there's no way we could enforce that order.
I was just going to ask that question. Thank you. It's fine.
One more. You mentioned the early intervention with the youth of our county. Would you like to talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing as an office in that perspective?
Other than the early intervention program that the Mayor of Albuquerque and the Albuquerque Police Department do, I've had a lot of conversations. I had one today at 2. And that's a lot of programs to address the violence that we're seeing within our youth. If you've seen the news stories that even your station has covered, they're 11 to 18. What can we do to early intervene when we see someone with a firearm or that is on social media or any type of getting attention that they're going to use a firearm in a crime? Even if they used a firearm in a crime, that's why I'm also asking for harsher penalties. We need to look at the JPO and child code also. I can't have 2 16-year-olds charged with a firearm using the commission of a homicide or something else, and we have a problem that they might be out on an ankle bracelet and being released to their parents. I understand, and everyone and all the naysayers will say their brains aren't developed. I totally understand the science and everything behind it. But then again, like I've been stressing so much with violent repeat offenders, I cannot have even juveniles in our community threatening and killing our community.
And Sheriff, why do you think the gun violence got to this point, and what gives you confidence that you can stop this?
You know what? Why the gun violence got to this point, I think we've been ignoring a lot of things for a long time. And that's by not holding people accountable. I understand early intervention. I understand diversionary from the criminal justice system. But at the same time, if you catch them at an early age, you can see the trend. One of the reasons I started the animal cruelty unit also, when you see a trend in flags that someone's going and escalating with violence with age, that's something not only intervening, but we can't stop saying some people need to stay in jail that are violent when they're hurting the community. And we know for a fact that they're going to go back into the community and they're going to recommit the same crime over and over again. And eventually and unfortunately, it leads to a homicide. Why do I think that these ideas that I brought forth will work? Because finally, we're going to work together. And that's just not with federal entities. That's easy to say to bring the feds in. That's what's working with the mayor. That's what's working with the chief of state police, Albuquerque Police Department. This is teamwork. I'm making sure that since I'm here at a press conference, that I am taking the responsibility as a sheriff to make sure that we're the lead of that task force, to make sure that things are done and we are held accountable as an agency if they're not. This will take time. There's no quick fix or a magic wand to this because this has been going on for so long. We have to start somewhere, but we have to do it right.
Sheriff, is there any indication that a lot of our recent crimes are related to ghost guns, or is this more an issue of people just not having values and going down this path?
You know, all the above. I don't have any statistics on ghost guns. I know they are prevalent around the nation. As far as in Bernalillo County, I've seen a couple of cases. And the first part of your question again?
The second part, is it an issue of less so guns and more a societal issue around values?
You know, all the above, and I would say that. I mean, a lot of people are going to be angry. People that live in northern New Mexico, where I serve as a New Mexico State police officer, that hunt with their family. I understand that. I think it's with values and also teaching gun safety. Let me be very clear for people that are either against me or for me. That's why I sat with Representative Pamela Hernan in House Bill 9 for gun safety. I really believe those laws will help and work, and sure enough, we've seen 2 to 3 cases in the state to where that law will be applied because that gun was not secured properly. That's something that we have to discuss, and that's part of the value of teaching a young person to be safe and to be responsible with a firearm.
I know, in your statement, you stated that you guys plan to call a special session, right? This was an ongoing issue with this past session that just passed in regards to the crime bills that were not passed this year's legislative session. Do you guys plan to revisit those crime bills? Because a lot of them were tabled as well. Are you guys going to start anew and just figure out a plan to tackle the crime with the juveniles? I know you stated pre-trial detention, what have you.
All of the above, and that's me where I stated respectfully requesting. That's the power of the governor, not mine. As an elected official, I have the chance and opportunity to do that. I would really love us to focus on crime bills to where nothing becomes convoluted or distracted, to make sure that we address all the issues that we see as a community. We do need to address the juveniles with firearms. I can tell you, and I can't speak for the stats of the Albuquerque Police Department, but we're seeing, as you see in the station you cover also, all of the juvenile crime that we have with firearms, and that firearms are prevalent within our community. But what do we do when we catch people in the commission of a crime? We have to be harsher with those sentences, specifically if they're using those firearms in conjunction with a homicide or another crime such as robbery.
Sheriff,
Back here.
So back to the original statement, it's a pretty big statement, going against what the governor said. What does this mean for Albuquerque?
What this means for Albuquerque is I think the statement is, and everybody around the nation is going to want me to be very confrontational with the governor, and it's a me against her. It's not. We still work as a team. We don't agree on this at all. This is unconstitutional, and like I said, I uphold my oath seriously. As far as meaning for Albuquerque specifically, I am putting everybody else, including every other politician and everybody else as a leader within a law enforcement entity, to jump on board and work as a team. I said this last week. There was an article, and I wish this gentleman would email me. He says the mayor, the sheriff, the AGs, the chief, they all have their own separate press conferences. I read all these editorials. What are they going to do together? And that's why in the press conference when I was with the governor the other day, I said we are all here. Bernalillo County is a problem. State of New Mexico is a problem with firearms. What do we do to stop the infiltration that are being used for violence and firearms? What can it do for Albuquerque? Show that there's a collaborative effort to stop the gun violence. That's all that we can do. Like I said, there's not a magic wand. There's not one solution. There's a myriad of solutions, and I can't be the only one coming up with them. That's why we have to work together as a team. Hopefully I answered your question.
Thank you. Sheriff, what do you tell the people who are afraid now they might not be able to defend themselves having their concealed carry when, you guys show up after it's already happened? So talk about that.
That's a quick answer. We're not enforcing it.
This order,
Sheriff, you mentioned you're gonna be calling for a special session with the governor, and I understand this news just broke Friday afternoon. It's Monday morning. Have you heard back from the governor yet? And once your statements have been released, what you would like to see be done? Have you conversed with her at all lately after this announcement?
No, I have not. A lot of people ask me how I feel. I mean, shocked and irritated is all I had for the weekend. I have to turn in my irritation and my anger into solutions. That's something I have to look at very seriously with the oath that I took in January 1st of 2023. But on that anger, what do I do for the citizens and constituents of Bernalillo County that I serve? That's where my drive comes from. I will be speaking with her. We have a relationship where we've always been collaborative. Yes, this was a completely different avenue and a different road that was taken on Friday. That's something that we're going to have to figure out how to work to make sure, not just with her, but with all the other leads of law enforcement agencies on what we can do and help the constituents that we serve.
and Sheriff, this ban definitely made headlines, but after 30 days, what do you think will be accomplished?
If the ban is in effect? Like I said before, and I'll be very, very blunt with this and very straightforward, this ban does nothing to curb gun violence. We're taking away firearms for law-abiding citizens in Bernalillo County, which is extremely violent. How do they protect themselves? That's their constitutional right to bear arms and to be able to defend themselves. That's why I gave a personal story of my brother. How do I call my brother and tell him, you can't carry a firearm, but don't worry, because your brother's the sheriff, he's got you? That's not true. I'm delayed in my response. What does he do when something is rapidly evolving to protect himself? I'll take 2 more questions. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
We're out here today to ensure our natural rights are respected by those who swore an oath to support, protect, and defend the rights of the people. The purpose of all interactions is to peacefully promote government accountability and transparency. Please like, share, and subscribe so this message can reach as many people as possible. I implore you to peacefully seek redress to any and all of your grievances. This is a public service.